Shout out to True Empress ENT for tagging me in this post. And yet again, we have another imposter. This time, a grad student. This woman's name is Vitolo Haddad. And for the longest, she has been going around posing as a black person or a Latino person. I'm not entirely sure. Like, they just sound like someone with extreme identity issues. And it just came out that they are neither of what they claim. This person is actually Italian or Sicilian. Now, what's so crazy is at one point, the Italians via the Sicilians were seen as the N-word of their, I guess you can say, of their group. And the Italians are like the latest group in the system to be classified as Caucasian. Like, they've only been classified as white for like at least a little over 100 years. Not that long. That's why I said it was very recent. But she just recently resigned from a teaching position when she either got exposed or she exposed herself. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm about to read this article to find out. A graduate student at the University of Wisconsin-Madison has apologized and resigned from their teaching job and workers' union leadership position after years of embracing lies about their racial identity. C.V. Vitolo Haddad, who uses the non-binary pronouns they and them, admitted that they are actually Southern Italian and Sicilian, not black or Latino, which are both labels they accepted when peers allegedly assumed they were a person of color. When asked if I identify as black, my answer should have always been no, Vitolo Haddad wrote September 8th, in the second of two confessions on Medium. There were 3 separate instances I said otherwise. See, she had opportunity to come clean then, but chose not to. And see, she's probably going to go on that same thing that other chick did and try to say how wrong she was. Yeah, you were wrong, but it's not like anything you could say that would make you sound or make us feel sympathetic towards you or feel bad for you losing your position, your teaching position. Because I know I don't feel a thing. I have let guesses about my ancestry become answers I wanted but couldn't prove, Vitolo Haddad previously said in an apology published September 6th on Medium. I have let people make assumptions when I should have corrected them. In the second missive, Vitolo Haddad added, I want to apologize for ever taking lies about Cuban roots at face value and for subsequently attaching myself to people's perception of me as though it would provide answers where there are none. Vitolo Haddad, who has railed against conservative views about race, declined an interview with the Wisconsin State Journal, which first reported the story on Saturday. However, in a series of text messages, Vitolo Haddad told reporters I repeated things I heard growing up from my family that I know to be lies. I am so sorry. I take full responsibility for spreading these lies, and I am deeply sorry. In their initial post, Vitolo Haddad also expressed a desire to make amends for every ounce of heartbreak and betrayal the deception has caused others. Due to the controversy, the graduate student who studies at the School of Journalism and Mass Communication has given up their teaching position and stepped down as co-president of the school's chapter of the Teaching Assistants Association, a graduate student union. However, Vitolo Haddad also claimed they have never identified as non-white on paper or attempted to gain access to scholarships and awards provided specifically for people of color. Then that makes you wonder, what was her point in even doing that if that wasn't her intention? Because a lot of times when people do this, they do this with some intention behind it. Like, look at Rachel Dolezal. She did that and she was able to get into Howard University. She was able to teach certain classes and she became the president of a chapter of the NAACP. That other chick, what was her, Jessica Krug? That woman went through 3 phases of black people. She hit 3 different parts of the diaspora and managed to get like a teaching position at African American Studies or something like that. So those 2 right there did it and ended up getting into a position that could have been for a black person. But her, on the other hand, she said she didn't do it with the intention of getting something from somebody else that it was meant for. Then that was just a waste. She could have just said, look, I'm Italian, I'm Sicilian and everything like that. This goes back to what I was saying about with the whole Jessica Krug situation. There is self-hate in all communities, not just black people, but it's just that it gets thrusted onto us a lot. And we're seeing it especially with her, because she says she didn't do this with any intention to gain anything. Well, in a way, she just gained attention by coming out and saying that she's not black or she's not Latino. Red flag would have went up for me when she said she's non-binary. Now, she claims she didn't identify as these things, but it looks like she was trying to identify as something other than what she was, but she could not put herself in a category of what to identify as, making her even more confused. Or she confused herself. She allowed herself to be confused. But Tolo Haddad's admission comes less than 2 weeks after African historian and George Washington University professor Jessica Crubb, who is white, was outed as a black imposter. UW-Madison Representative Meredith McGlone confirmed that the grad student's resignation as a teaching assistant. UW-Madison expects that people represent themselves authentically and accurately in all aspects of their academic work, McGlone told the Daily Cardinal. I truly believe that people who do this should definitely face some kind of penalty or some kind of consequence. Because there are opportunities that usually they set aside, or they, maybe for a black person in particular. And then she could have easily snatched that up, an opportunity like that up from somebody who deserved it. And I don't really care as far as her explanation goes. I really don't care what she has to say on that aspect, because it falls on deaf ears. To me, it does. You got to think, this is the second time, they said in 2 weeks, that this has occurred. I expect this to continue to happen. I guess she felt like she aesthetically felt like, oh, okay, I think I could pass for this, that, and the third. And no one's going to tell me. You can't expose me or something like that. And you can tell with people like this, they rehearse. Okay, this isn't something they just decide to wake up one day and do. They rehearse what they're going to say. They're going to rehearse how they're going to act. It's all like theater. It's all theatrics, in my honest opinion. This isn't something they just do on the fly. They literally, it's almost like they plan this whole thing out for what they're going to do in their day-to-day life. And also, I tend to look at people who do stuff like this as if they have some kind of psychological dysfunction and they are in need of some shock treatment or something. And then you also got to take a step further. What does her family think about this? I have to think about this. If I was the parent to her and I found out she was doing this, I would feel like, where did we go wrong? And to the point where our daughter or my child felt they had to keep their true identity a secret and pretend to be somebody that they were not. Like, what happened? And a lot of times when people do stuff like this and they try to imitate black people and everything like that, they do it because they feel it's trendy. It's cool to be black, especially a black American, because we make everything look cool. Trust and believe, if they had to actually live the experience of a black American, especially in the climate that we are in today, they would run for the hills and run quickly back to their true heritage in a heartbeat.